I know it's too early to talk about Christmas, but since I had to review this film because of its Oscar nomination, might as do it as well, even though it's out of place. Anyways, this week we are in the runners up, which I think were the ones that were close to winning based on my predictions on what could have been the results. And for our animated runner up, we're back at Netflix, as not only did they release what many people consider this to be the best animated film of the year, but also having a toxic fan base from the controversial cartoon community, as 2019 Spider Man Into the Spider Verse, which, as you know, I loved it and it did deserve last year's Oscar, but I wouldn't consider Spider Verse one of the best in recent years, and not because of a Disney bias. Back on the subject, this film was not also made in Spain, which is interesting since this and the international potential runners up that were made in Spain, but it's also a Christmas movie, and this came out big during the holiday season, and the award season as well, as it won the BAFTA and dominated the Annie Awards by winning all 7 categories it was nominated for. Haven't I heard that last year? Never mind, let's just talk about the film that is probably the most exciting for animation fans, Netflix's Christmas movie, Klaus. Directed by Sergio Pablos, we focus on a young man named Jesper, who is the son of the head general for Postal Service, who is particularly in training to become a postman. After a meeting of failures, his dad decided to make him an official postman in a small town called Smearensburg, which is the home of 2 rival families, the Crumbs and the Ellingbones, who do nothing but fight each other almost every single day. When he arrives, it's not good for him. Not just because of the citizens, but he needs to mail 6,000 letters in 1 year. Then he discovers a woodsman's cabin, which the woodsman ends up scaring Jasper. But when the big woodsman finds him, he shows him a picture that Jasper had of a sad kid. So the woodsman decides to give the kid a toy frog, which ends up revealing him being a handmade toy maker named Klaus. When the kids heard about this, they convinced Jasper to send letters to Klaus so they can have toys, which he convinced Klaus, and they made a deal by delivering toys at night when they're sleeping, which is good for the kids, but for the leaders, no, since Crumbs and Ellingbones don't mix. But with the Christmas season coming, Jasper makes sure the kids have a great Christmas and reach his goal for 6,000 letters. I was very curious going into this as an origin story of Santa Claus, and with him delivering toys under the tree on Christmas, even though Jasper places him when Klaus is outside. And this is one of the best Christmas movies in recent years that Christmas is a subject, by the way. What I liked about the most of the movie is that it has a lot of memorable scenes. Whether it is the journey of the 2 delivering the toys, the 2 heads of the family figuring out what's going on, and how the kids change from the troublemakers on their rivals and trying to be good for once. This is why my favorite scene in the movie is where the kids are writing to the letters to Mr. Klaus as they write to him, and how the changes they do for Smearensburg. How these scenes are so memorable is the friendships between Jesper and Klaus, mostly from the fantastic performances of Jason Schwartzman and J.K. Simmons. From being an independent to not talking at all to becoming great friends, and Jesper managed to save Klaus's life on what he was missing ever since a tragedy happened to the love of his life. Also, Klaus has a lot of memorable dialogues in the film, but my favorite line in the movie is, "A true act of goodwill always sparks another," and that's the biggest message of the film. Not just on what Jasper did with Klaus, but with the kids on their parents and their rivals, but also what Jasper did to help a Sami girl to write a letter to Klaus, and for his act, the Sami people helped them out with the Christmas idea. And that's why the heartwarming elements is the best thing about the movie. From the moment when the first kid got that toy, that's when it really gets good from beginning to end. However, as much as I enjoyed it, that doesn't mean it's a perfect movie by itself, like around an A or a 90% or more rating from other reviewers. One of the weakest elements of the film is the main plot itself. As you can see, it's another underdog story, where Jesper started as a loser, then he's a hero, then a loser again, and then a hero again, you name it. Another thing is some of the other characters as well. The villains, Tammy Crumb and Askell Ellingbone, are not that strong. The ferryman, Mogus, is not a great comic relief, And the teacher Alva is a generic love interest, and I predicted that at the beginning when she was introduced. Speaking of the beginning, I thought the first act was pretty slow. Sure, we had to introduce Jesper, what his dad did, the people in Smearensburg, but it feels a bit boring until it's better once we get to the first toy scene. Also, is it just me, or the Crumbs and the Yelling Bones is not a great version of the Capulets and Montagues? But if there is one thing in the movie that I feel mixed the most with Klaus, is the animation. Sure, it's made in Spain, so the animation quality won't be that good. But being a hand-drawn film trying to look like a computer-animated film is very mixed. Heck, I even noticed when they decided to cheat a little bit by doing a full scene or a character in CGI, especially the sleigh chase scene in the third act. See, I Lost My Body worked on being a computer-animated film looking like a hand-drawn film, thanks to its rotoscoping, but here being a hand-drawn film looking like a computer-animated film? No. Just no. I know this might be controversial to say this for those toxic fans out there. I find Klaus to be good, but a little bit overrated for its reception. Even though it has a good Christmas spirit and a great character duo, it's far from being a great or fantastic movie on its own, as the main plot is so predictable, not much depth on the supporting characters, and the animation trying to be a 2D film to look 3D is very cheap. I would only say that you should give this a watch once during the holiday season. It will have some memorable scenes, and believe it or not, scenes that are rewatchable. And I will say, do not be a part of the toxic fandom it has. And also, taking all the Annie Awards it was nominated for, that's just wrong. I know many people are not happy at the Academy for not choosing this as the winner, but next Monday we'll be back here in the United States to see our buddies at Pixar with our winning animated feature from a beloved franchise with Woody, Buzz, and the whole gang.